Yes.
Oh, what I want you guys don't have back there. Thanks for asking, though.
Okay.
Welcome to Open Voice Audio Services. Please enter your conference room number followed by the pound or hash sign. Conference room number accepted. If you are the organizer, press the star key now. Otherwise, please hold.
Well, it's supposed to be 6:50.
Yeah, but on our watch it's 6:50, but they might not quite be 6:50.
Or start over?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 9, 1.
Did you do pause?
No. 6, 3, 1. 9, 9, 2. 3, 4, 4, 4. And then you dial.
Welcome to Open Voice Audio Services. Please enter your conference room number followed by the pound or hash sign.
Okay.
So 6, 5, 0, 7, 5, 4, 9, 7, 9, and then this.
Pound.
Conference room number accepted. If you are the organizer, press the star key now. Otherwise, please
I'm
hold.
not going to push the star key again. It's just said just hold, or hold. So.
Or hold. So I would just hold. I'll go grab my stuff.
Good evening and welcome to the Carnegie Town Hall. This meeting of the Sioux Falls City Council will begin in a few moments. The City Council meets on the first, second, and third Tuesday of each month at 7 o'clock p.m. and serves as the city's policymaking and legislative body. Each meeting is governed by Robert's Rules of Order unless those guidelines conflict with city ordinance or charter. City Council meetings offer an opportunity for citizens to speak directly to their elected representatives. Those in attendance are invited to address the Council during the public input segment at the beginning of the agenda. At that time, any issue that is not subject to formal action later in the agenda can be addressed. Testimony that concerns a resolution or an ordinance's second reading is only allowed when those specific agenda items are being addressed by the Council. When addressing the Council, citizens should speak directly into the microphones at the podium and state their names for the record after being recognized by the Chair. To accommodate and respect all viewpoints, citizen comments are limited by ordinance to no more than 5 minutes each. Comments should be respectful and focused on providing new information that will benefit the Council's deliberative process. The Chair reserves the right to limit the number of speakers. City Council meetings are broadcast live on CityLink and online at www.siouxfalls.org. Information regarding the City Council, its committees, meetings, briefings, and members is available by visiting www.siouxfalls.org/council or by calling the Council office at 605-367-8085. Thank you for your interest in Sioux Falls City government.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. It is Tuesday, January 19th. We'll start our meeting with a roll call of our City Council.
Councilmembers Erpenbach,
Here.
Jamison, Karski,
Here.
Kiley,
Here.
Rolfing,
Here.
Staggers,
Present.
Anderson, Erickson.
Thank you, Council. In the City of Sioux Falls, we start our meetings with a invocation. And we're very, very blessed to have Pastor Kip Rusin here from Asbury United Methodist Church. Pastor Kip, welcome. What we'd like you to do is to stand for the invocation and then remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor?
I was reminded, since yesterday was Martin Luther King Day, how Dr. King relied on prayer throughout his work as a source of strength and comfort to him and guidance for him. And the story's told of him coming home one day after a kind of a bone-weary work day, working for the movement, running into problems and stress and just tired and going to bed. And the phone rang in the middle of the night, and the voice on the other end was offering abusive, threatening language, as was not uncommon for Dr. King and his family to hear. And after he hung up the phone, he got out of bed and he made himself a cup of coffee. And the story says he sat at the kitchen table and he put his head in his hands and he prayed this prayer. He said, "Lord, I am taking a stand for what I believe is right. The people are looking to me for leadership, and if I stand before them without strength and courage, they will falter. I am at the end of my powers. I have nothing left. I have nothing left. I've come to the point where I can't face it alone." And he said at that moment, as he stood up from the table, he experienced the presence of God as he's never experienced a God before in his life. And he said it seemed as though he could hear a voice saying, "Stand up for righteousness, stand up for truth, and God will be at our side forever." And he faced the day with new confidence and new hope and new strength because he turned to God in prayer. And so it's a privilege for me to pray for you for strength and guidance tonight. Let's pray. Oh, gracious God, I do thank you for the gift of this city of Sioux Falls. I thank you for our mayor. I thank you for the men and women of our city council who help to give themselves for the sake of our community. I'm grateful for their leadership, and we know, oh God, that leadership can sometimes be a heavy burden to carry. It's a burden for those who lead, and it's a burden for their family, and it can be a burden for their friends. And I just pray for those in leadership here in Sioux Falls. I pray that you would care for them and their families. I pray for your strength and your guidance and your direction for our leaders. I pray that you help them to stand for what is right. I pray you give them courage and strength so they will not falter. And at those times when maybe they feel bone weary and tired and have nothing left, that you will help them know that they're never alone and that you are with them and that you offer your strength and hope. I pray for the safety of everyone during the cold and snow of this winter season. I pray for city employees and others who have to work long hours to clear snow, those who serve our city. I pray you keep people safe. Be with the hurting, the hungry, and those with no place to call home. And bless us as your servants to be a blessing to others. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
It's not working.
Jeffrey, thank you. Amy, welcome. Appreciate it. I do have Amy Carter here, the operations director for the Children's Inn and Bright Start program here. So, Amy, thanks so much. Is there anybody else you want to bring forward tonight? Okay. Well, Amy, thank you for being here. On behalf of the city, I do have a proclamation I would like to read. Whereas, under the laws of all 50 states, the U.S. territories, the District of Columbia, and the federal government, stalking is a crime. Whereas 6.6 million people were stalked in 1 year in the United States, and the majority of the victims are stalked by someone that they know. Whereas 3 in 4 women killed by an intimate partner had been stalked by that intimate partner. Whereas many stalking victims are forced to protect themselves by relocating, changing their identities, changing their jobs, and obtaining protection orders. Whereas there's a need for great public awareness about the nature, criminality, and potential lethality of stalking. Whereas criminal justice systems can enhance their responses to stalking by regular training of law enforcement officers and aggressive investigation and prosecution of the crime. Whereas communities can better combat stalking by adopting multidisciplinary responses by teams of local agencies and organizations, and by providing more and better victim services. Whereas the Minnehaha County Family Violence Council is a multidisciplinary team working together to provide more and better services to the victims of stalking. Now, therefore, I, Mike Huther, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, do hereby proclaim the month of January 2016 as Stalking Awareness Month in Sioux Falls. Amy, thanks for bringing this to attention of the people of Sioux Falls. We appreciate it. Everyone? Thank you, Council. We'll now move to our consent agenda. Any motions, changes?
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Erpenbach.
On a motion to approve our consent agenda, if no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
That has passed 5-0. Thank you, Council. Now our regular agenda. Any changes to that tonight, folks?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
And I'll second.
Thank you. Councilor Bucks made a motion to approve our agenda tonight, seconded by Councilor Vice Chair Rolfing. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
That has passed 5-0. Thank you. Welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. We've got a great crowd here tonight, and we appreciate your attendance. This is a great opportunity for you to engage the council, really on any topic that you want involving our city. I do know that there's some folks here who want to engage the council on one of the topics that's a first reading. That's okay. This is a good time for you to come forward for that. But also any other topics that you think are important, please come forward now. Just really 2 requests. Introduce yourself to the people of our town, just to tell us your name. And then we would ask you to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. So welcome. Thank you. Dan, welcome.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Dan Lettler, Executive Director at the Sioux Falls Regional Airport. And just like to take this opportunity, I understand agenda item number 30 is the first reading for a potential ordinance for the City of Sioux Falls. I'd just like to offer my comments or the airport's opinion on that proposed ordinance at this time. First of all, I'd like to just comment, the airport's a huge proponent and supporter of economic development in Sioux Falls. Slater Barr and his group do an outstanding job in promoting Sioux Falls, getting businesses to come to Sioux Falls. I think they do a super job. The airport itself has been a huge contributor to Forward Sioux Falls, one of the largest contributors to that effort. So we're fully supportive of economic development in Sioux Falls. However, we do have some concerns with this proposed ordinance and the revenue that would be generated by that ordinance. You know, the proposed $3 per day transaction tax on rental cars, it would have an impact on revenue. Rental car concession revenue is the third largest revenue source for the airport. So even though it's $3 a day, it will have an impact on revenue. So it's certainly a concern for us going forward how that impacts the revenue that's generated from that for the airport and our ability to fund the operations out there. Secondly, if this were adopted, it's $3 a day. It seems like a simple thing, but we have purposely not implemented a customer facility charge ourselves. One, because we don't have a specific need for it yet. And so it's one of those potential revenue sources that we've kept on the shelf until we do have a purpose for it. But as we go down the road, whether we're trying to look to improve the rental car facilities themselves or even a potential parking garage, we would want to impose our own fee, customer facility charge, to help generate some of that revenue to pay for that facility. So if there's already a $3 fee imposed plus our fee, now $6 a day, that is going to impact people's decision making. As you see Uber and Lyft come to town and people have options for getting from point A to point B, people may not rent that car in Sioux Falls. So certainly our ability to generate revenue ourselves is a concern. I know Dale's going to speak and outlines 20 out of 23 regional cities have a similar fee. What he's referring to is a customer facility charge, and those are fees collected only for airport infrastructure, not for any other uses. So I think it's an important distinction to understand is, yes, there are 20 out of 23 other cities that have this fee. We don't. We've chosen not to implement it until we have a purpose for it. So that I think is an important distinction to clarify. And then the last point I'll make here, because I'm probably running out of time, is just we're concerned about the legality of one municipality, the City of Sioux Falls, being able to impose a tax on revenue generated from another government state statute agency, which is the Airport Authority. So we're really concerned about if that's been thoroughly researched to see if that's even an option to impose such a fee. So I know you have other rental car folks here that are willing to speak on how it impacts their business, but just want to make sure that you folks knew that we do have some concerns about this as we move forward, and we will thoroughly research it from our side as well. So thank you.
Dan, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is John Mathias, and I'm a resident of Sioux Falls. I want to address an item on tonight's agenda, which will have a first reading, that being a proposal to amend our Code of City Ordinances as it pertains to our City Council. More specifically, I'm concerned about the portion of this amendment that will change the deadline for the City Clerk's office to post upcoming City Council meeting agendas. Our current Code of Ordinances specifies this deadline for posting council meeting agendas as the close of business on Friday, preceding any meeting to take place the following Tuesday. Such a deadline was likely considered to be reasonable and prudent by past municipal officials who drafted the ordinance in its present form. It would appear the amendment to change this deadline to, at best, just the day before a given Tuesday council meeting is for the convenience of municipal employees and/or elected officials. In the absence of other information, it would appear the justification for this change is the current Friday deadline has come to be regarded as problematic, inconvenient, or onerous. I suggest a different solution to this problem should be sought. As the council considers this amendment, I hope considerable weight will be given to what I feel should be a guiding principle for municipal employees and elected officials, that being what is best for the citizens of Sioux Falls. What is best for citizens may not be the easiest or most expeditious method of approach for City Hall. However, going to whatever lengths necessary to avoid the appearance of impropriety in government is a goal worthy of honoring and preserving. Maintaining the opportunity for concerned citizens to have a matter of days rather than mere hours to review an upcoming City Council meeting agenda is a worthwhile procedure to perpetuate transparency in municipal government. Please don't constrict or reduce the options for people to participate in their city government. A deadline change like this only has a downsize for citizens, as it will further limit the available time in their personal and professional lives for them to consider and plan making their voices heard before agenda items are discussed or voted upon. Thank you.
John, thank you very much. We appreciate that. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Kendall Zoller, and I work for Enterprise Rent a Car here in town.
Welcome.
I just want to give you a brief overview. I've lived in Sioux Falls for about 15 years. I have 60 full and part-time employees that work here in Sioux Falls. I actually oversee the airport location, Enterprise, National, and Alamo, and I also oversee the other two locations not at the airport here located in Sioux Falls. Some of the numbers I want to give so we're clear, because I think there's a mix-up of some of the numbers that were given and talked about this evening, is all of the numbers presented were just from airport revenue. They weren't drawn from those other home city resources, shall we say. So 45% of the rental transactions given are just from those two locations outside of the airport. That is about 16,000 rental tickets. It's a lot of rentals, which that equates to about 100,008 rental days, times $3 per day. That is 325,560. That is revenue that is coming from local business. And local business, kind of just to give you an overview, is an insurance replacement. Your car is in the shop and a insurance company is going to provide you a rental car because somebody has hit you. A dealership rentals, your car's broken mechanically and you need a car. It's always very convenient. Body shop replacement, it's kind of a segment off insurance replacement, but maybe the body shop or yourself are going to pay for that rental. Also, corporate rentals, we have a lot of businesses here in Sioux Falls, small and large, that have to travel. So they use a rental car because it's cheaper to rent a car to go than a mileage reimbursement. It helps their cost expenditures. And also retail. People want to drive to Minneapolis or to Rapid City or to Omaha, and maybe they have an F-250 and that's too much. They don't want to spend the gas, and all they need is a, Ford Focus. There's other, or a large family wants a larger vehicle to travel. So all of that constitutes as a local rental. Not only the airline rentals that we see, there's a lot of companies that are here locally that have people fly in. So they're actually being paid for by our local companies, not just large companies coming in to see Sioux Falls, but actually doing business here with those companies. And the families that fly in here. Sioux Falls, unfortunately, is not a destination city. And they're here to see their family, and they lived here at one time, and they're coming back to revisit. A couple things I just wanted to clarify as well is the local rentals do not represent about 45%, or they represent 45%, not 20%. The fees referred to, like Dan said at the airport, that Rapid City and Des Moines and Omaha has, those are consolidated facility fees. They're fees to better the facility the customers are using with a purpose, not just a fee for a different facility or purpose that they wouldn't take advantage of. We had a request from Karen Ruland to obtain our rental information on the 12th of this month. And some of the figures that were, we hadn't had a chance to respond, and some of the figures that were given without a response from us. So that was concerning that the 20% of rentals are local, that didn't come from us. And about a year ago, we did meet with Slater and Dale, who spoke here this evening, and they wanted to discuss this fee. And we were open to that because we truly, I'm a local resident. I do business here. I live here. And we wanted to discuss the fee because we do want in Sioux Falls to improve. We support that growth and development, absolutely. And we offered to partner them with some help with some economic growth, but we don't feel that it should be one-sided toward just one industry. That isn't fair. And after our initial meeting, we had never heard from them again. So in conclusion, I appreciate your time, and if you have any questions, feel free. I'd love to talk to you. Thank you.
Kendall, thank you very much for your comments. We appreciate it. Folks, anybody else? Welcome.
Can I have this put up on the overhead, please? Thank you. Good evening. My name is Liz Meilenberg. I have lived in Sioux Falls since 1974 and taught music in the Sioux Falls school system. My students performed numerous patriotic programs and sang from the depths of their heart, honoring American values and expressing pride and belief that we are a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Parents and students alike enthusiastically applauded and embraced these three phrases in our many terrific concerts over the 21 years that I taught in Sioux Falls. So what does this have to do with tonight's agenda? I refer you to item number 23 before the council. The administration is planning to change the posting date of council agendas to only 24 hours prior to the Tuesday meetings, whereas our current ordinance requires posting by the close of business on Friday. The problem with this proposed change is the intentionally shortened and limited time element. The close of business on Monday gives the administration the ability to slip items onto the meeting agenda with very little public notice, as to planned legislation. It greatly reduces the public's access time to research and organize a response either in support or against the proposed legislation. Furthermore, I suggest this proposal of change gives you as counselors precious little time to research needed additional information before making a wise vote as you represent Sioux Falls citizens. Secondly, my expectation of a wise vote from my representative is to always research both sides of every issue. It is not acceptable to embrace, regurgitate, and rubber stamp the administration's point of view. Examine each proposal using outside reliable sources before making the right choice for citizens. So I say to you, does this administrative proposal and change make you want to shout, hooray, we are a wonderful example of a working government of the people, by the people, and for the people? Or is it an attempt to control input and greatly reduce the public's interaction and effectiveness in their own government? How about you, Mr. Kiley? You taught impressionable high school youth. Do you stand on America's principles and support a citizen active government? And you, Mr. Rolfing, your honorable and beloved son gave his life in service to our country in the belief and hope that our government of the people, by the people, and for the people should not perish from this earth. And Mr. Staggers, we thank and applaud you that these concepts, as stated by Abraham Lincoln, are the heart of the curriculum content you teach at USF. So I ask each and every one of you, as you represent your voters, do you support and encourage a citizen involved in government, one of the people, by the people, and for the people? Or will these prized concepts of freedom that we teach our children to embrace become a manipulated, twisted, partial non-truth in Sioux Falls, therefore enabling of overly strong top-down governmental ruling class, such as one of the administration, by the administration, and for the administration? Regarding the latter choice, any elected official who attempts to silence and reduce the public's voice would do well to revisit the sacrifices of Abraham Lincoln. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Appreciate that. Yeah, welcome.
Greg Neitzert, Sioux Falls. I originally wasn't going to speak about this, but I've been studying it over the weekend, and I won't repeat things that other people have said. I'll just try to hone in on one little thing I wanted to talk about. So again, the agenda ordinance. So in looking at it, it looks like in looking at old ordinances, in 2011, we added most of this. And then in 2012, we tweaked it a little bit, mostly for the day of the week. And now we're proposing to delete a lot of the text we added in 11. And I would say, as a public citizen and those of us who care about city government, the vast majority of this is really minutia that happens internally. How the magic happens, I don't think is really a big deal. So I think deleting most of this is really not a big problem. How the city clerk gets their magic done, that's for them to do and the council to work out, and you have procedures that you can work out. I think the only thing that really, really matters is what I've circled. And now at the informational meeting, Lori Hogstead had stated that they wouldn't change what the procedure is now. We would keep publishing on Friday. And that's good to hear. But if we take this part out in the code, there's nothing legally that says that we can't start slipping for whatever reason onto a Monday or whatever. So if we're going to continue the Fridays, which we need to do, that's 96 hours notice. And that's not just for the public, that's also for the press. I mean, they get these agendas too, and that gives them a chance to do a story. So I would just propose, let's just put this piece back in. We said it's been stated that that's what we're going to do, and that's what we're going to live by. So let's just keep it in code. If we take that part out, then we just follow state law, which is 24 hours, which I would submit we should be very proud of what we have now. And just having the minimum is not something we should shoot for. We should set an example, and we should be transparent, and we should just add that part right back in and just keep, and then we'll know that we're legally required to get it posted. Now, when all the directors get everything to the clerk, they can work all that out. And the other thing I would say about if things come up, there are emergency procedures. In fact, farther down in the ordinance, there's emergency procedures in place, and there's also special meetings which we can call to take care of something that's very urgent. So I think this problem can be fixed. Let's just put that clause back in. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate that. Welcome, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, my name is Dwayne Reggie. I moved to Sioux Falls 15 years ago from a farm by Canastota. I was shocked to see the other day signs on the road that formerly led to Powerhouse Road and now has the words Veterans Parkway. I am a veteran of World War II. I am so proud of veterans, and you should be the same. And somehow or other you saw fit to let that be changed. We have a beautiful place for people to go by Russell Road there. We could put some kind of a road leading to there. And I don't know how many people remember that there was a Army base here, and they tell me there was at one time 32,000 people there. They married a lot of girls here in Sioux Falls. They came back. They did the Bill of Rights. They went to college. And the Sioux Falls thrived because of them. I cannot stand to listen to people say that you have to forget about what veterans did. I could make your blood curdle. I went to Washington, D.C. on the honor flight. I won't even tell you the stories I heard. Tears ran down people's face, and now here we are. We can't give them what they deserve. I'm going to keep this short. I could go on the things. And how many times have people here ever gone to the Veterans Hospital and you humble yourself when you see what's happening to these people? And it's a continual thing. And I know that you've already passed on this. You had one vote. And I thank that person for that vote to our favor. If you don't act on this to change this and change that sign and get something marked there for the veterans and a road there, it's a wonderful place to go and sit and think and talk and identify it better. And anyway, I'm going to keep this rather short. I'm really sold on this. I'm just about 90 years old. When I lived out there, when the powerhouse blew up in Powder House, and now you've taken that away from the people that are historians. So they want that back, and they're ready. There have been circulating petitions, and if you can't see your way to rectify this, I will work with them, and we will get petitions, and we will be back. Thank you.
Dwayne, thank you very much as well, sir, and thank you for your service. We appreciate that. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
My name is Michael Weiland. I'm a resident of Sioux Falls. And I'm speaking about item number 30, the proposed rental car fee. And I'm not as concerned about whether or not the fee is approved as I am about how it should be administered, should it be approved. My firm had the opportunity to work with the Visitor Industry Ad Hoc Committee the last few months, and it was a very instructive process. And one of the things that I walked away with based on the public testimony and the experience was the importance that any tax dollars that are collected for a targeted purpose and turned over to one or more nonprofit organizations in the community should be accompanied by a specific contract or agreement. And that the contract or agreement
should set specific performance, specific strategy, specific accountability, and specific enforcement in order to be effective. I notice in the case of the rental car proposal that the proposed language does not include any particular nonprofit organization being the beneficiary. And since there is no sunsetting provision in the fee, it can be assumed that once the development park on the north end of town, which has been talked about as being one of the key reasons for having that fee, once that park is completed, that there might be other options or other opportunities for that fee to be used. I encourage you in your fiduciary duty and a public trust to demand accountability and to demand strategy from the people with whom this city partners to further economic development in Sioux Falls, and to have a formal structure. As my wife and partner, Margaret Sumption, loves to say, you make rules when everybody is happy, so you have them when everybody isn't happy. We have an opportunity now to move forward and think proactively about what structure we want to establish for the use of this money should the voters of Sioux Falls decide to approve its collection. Thank you.
Michael, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Welcome.
My name is David Zokaitis. I was here a couple of weeks ago talking about civil rights, and I'm back at it because I haven't quite finished the last discourse. A couple weeks ago, I wrote a letter supposedly to a captain on the police force, but really it's to everybody because it affects everybody here in Sioux Falls and even in the nation at large. 2 weeks ago, I talked about having the right to record police activity and how that right is thwarted frequently by police and by the police administration, which makes it much more of a problem. Anyway, so 2 weeks ago I read half of my letter, so today, here comes the other half. I hope you're ready. Last fall, I was illegally detained by 4 antagonistic police officers who put me in fear of my destruction. What a heck of a way to get going. In violation of Terry versus Ohio, these 4 officers detained me without suspicion of criminal activity. Deprivation of liberty is a crime. Additionally, they prompted me to fear imminent bodily harm. In other words, these 4 police officers assaulted me. They tried to set me up so that they would have an excuse to pummel me half to death. I was standing with my back to the car, nowhere to go, trying hard to keep my composure, when one of the officers reached out to grab my arm. If I had reacted physically and panicked, I probably would have been attacked physically and then attacked legally. That's an important phrase, attacked physically and legally. Typically, when police attack citizens, police claim they acted in self-defense and then arrest their victim and charge the victim with initiating violence. Prosecution for a fabricated charge of resisting arrest or assault frequently follows police abuse. All right, and here's the part that's mostly to the captain I wrote to. It appears to be your job to defend anything that police do to citizens. If you can defend violation of civil rights, it shouldn't be very challenging to defend assaults. Considering how the local police dealt with that other complaint, I haven't even bothered to lodge a complaint of assault with the Sioux Falls Police Department. Nonetheless, I did recommend to the chief that he maintain a personal copy of all records relating to this incident. It's hard for anyone to conduct a meaningful investigation if evidence has been destroyed. All right, and another kind of personal note to this guy, I've talked to him before. To provide a bit of political context, it appears to be your job to perpetrate injustice and defend civil rights violations. But in doing so, you help to destroy your own freedoms. Too few people realize that most people who violate rights are both victim and perpetrator of injustice. I don't know what you value more. Now, this one's really to everybody. I don't know what you value more, your freedom and economic opportunity, or the official position of police near infallibility. I encourage you to ponder the current political environment and your place in it. And that's what I wrote to the captain. I hope he thinks hard on that last particular point. I have a copy of this letter. Would somebody like to get it? Maybe the city clerk over there, can I give a copy? Oh, you want to grab it?
David, are you done? I'm done, thank you, David. Appreciate it. Welcome.
Tim Stanga, Sioux Falls. Wow, what a meeting. Haven't seen one of these for so long. Didn't know that the rental car was going to be talked about, but I guess you impose a tax. You can't take a tax away. I've never seen one taken away. Property tax is never ever going to go down. It's always going to go up. The people that are going to rent these cars are one, middle class families or under middle class. It isn't just always rich people that rent rental cars. Me and my daughter rented one, went to North Carolina because one, we didn't want to put the mileage on our car. So then you're putting the tax on us just because of what we wanted to do versus drive our own vehicle. Two, I want the public and everybody to realize that this city council wanted to take public testimony and put it at the end of every meeting because they want to limit input from people like you. And they want you to be quiet. They don't want you to know ahead of time what is going to be talked about in the city council meetings. The other agenda, I've talked to a lot of people within the last week. Why is it that people aren't stepping up and running for city council? It's really a no-brainer. I always tell you guys, you're being watched on TV by people. And the way you act in front of not only people giving testimony, but Kermit, when he objects on something, and you guys treat him the way you do. Why would somebody want to run for city council and have to be put through what Kermit has put through a lot of times? But then again, when public testimony is done, or when people are up here doing public testimony, you guys treat us the same way. Especially when we walk away. We can hear the we can hear the comments from a few of the city council members. Not all of them, but a few of them. Why would somebody want to run for city council? For one, to stand up for people that can't come up here and talk for themselves, people that are struggling day to day to try to make ends meet. I talk to my neighbors all the time. When it comes to the 20th, they have no money in their accounts. These are elderly people. But every time you guys decide to raise property tax, these people suffer. Because why? Because their rent goes up. You guys raise water bill and you raise the sewage bill. These people have to pay for that. So I tell everybody, from October to February, use as less water as you can. Your sewer is off your water bill during your winter months. You want to save some money? That's what you have to do. Shouldn't have to play that game. Why don't people want to run for city council? Because if no is in your agenda, you better not run. If your agenda doesn't fit with what's going on in the city or The people that are on the city council, if you don't fit their agenda, you can't run. Because why? Kermit, I think you can answer that question for me. Don't worry, the person that runs against you, or if you do run, we will find somebody to run against you. That person will have a boatload of money behind them because of one reason: we have an agenda in this town and we have to follow it. Everything is politically motivated. What is done in city council, it's just a stepping stone on where we want to go from here. Whether we want to be mayor, whether we want to be governor, whether we want to run for representative or for the Senate. It's just a stepping stone. To me, city council shouldn't be a stepping stone. It's wrong. We're here for the people. We're here for every voter in this town. And every voter is not being heard because there's people that are suffering in this town, and every single one of them people are not being heard.
Thank you, Tim. We appreciate it. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Bruce Danielson. I had another talk planned tonight, but I was listening yesterday to a meeting and some interviews that were done and put on television, and it made me think of something else. So I'm just going to read it. 75 years ago, the United States was involved in a great war destroying the belief in efficient governments. The world's messiest democracy changed world history. Who was that messy democracy? Ours. We Americans take pride in running a country not designed to be efficient, but open to the public. Our forefathers brought forth a process forced to create leaders, because leaders have to lead and not hide from their voters. Counselors are here to represent us and to protect our rights. It is a fundamental right of your constituents to know what you are doing here. We have a right to know what is being discussed here and be encouraged for the participation in the discussions. There are members here who tire of our attempts to follow the chamber's work. Most of us do not care if you tire. You wanted this job, and now you have it. Be leaders, but know we care, and we will continue to be here because we care. We will continue to bring our work, your work, to the public. We will also press on with everything we learn. We learned accidentally of last week's executive session. It was a marketing meeting for the rental car tax before you tonight. There are a few things wrong with this. First off, it broke SDCL 1-25-2 Part 3. It was not litigation, it was not a personnel matter, and it was not a contractual matter. It was a discussion of how to do a public vote, and please tell us if we're wrong. Second, the change to our public access is set in ordinance, is necessary for an informed public. Tonight's agenda was not properly posted. It really should have been posted on Thursday because Monday was a holiday. I am the reason for last year's special meeting that was held at the regular time using the regular agenda. And I'm very proud that I did that. This is an end around tonight in getting started to get you to do your homework. Why can't you get your homework done if it's Friday? What difference does it make if it's Tuesday? There are processes in the system that allow you to make, if something important comes up, you can still declare a special meeting to follow the regular agenda, and you can hold a special meeting. There are communities that do it that way. So now it's time for you to fix the process. Greg was right. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that you never let us know. We don't know about your emails. We don't know about your discussions. There's a lot of private things that happen between the groups of you we never hear about. There is one thing that we need in order to help you people run this town, because it takes citizen involvement to run this town. It isn't just having a mayor. It isn't just having a council member run a committee. It isn't just a parks department head doing this, or a public works director. It takes all of us, because today we were in a meeting involved with talking about the right-of-way ordinance. And I think the community has banded together and helped Mr. Kiley do a job here. And we're very happy to do that. But we must have the ability to see what's going on in the meetings. I don't care about efficiency. I don't care. I have worked for years doing ergonomic studies and efficiency studies. And what you're telling me here is that what Mussolini, Hitler, and Stalin, and Tojo, et cetera, were all trying to do 75 years ago was the right way, efficiency in government. No, we have a messy democracy, and I'm very, very proud of our messy democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate that. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Well, very good. Thank you so much for your comments. We appreciate it. Item number 17.
Item number 17, new 2015-16 package malt beverage license for Hy-Vee Incorporated Hy-Vee Gas, 3100 East 10th Street. Item 18, new 2016 package liquor license for Bernice Garcia Navarrete and Alberto Carenza, Mi Casa Latina Mexican Store, 809 South Marion Road. Item 19, special one-day off-sale package wine license for the St. Joseph Cathedral Parish to be operated at the St. Joseph Cathedral, 521 North Duluth Avenue, for a fundraiser being held January 26, 29, 2016. Item 20 is a special one-day wine license for Senior Citizens Incorporated to be operated at Active Generations, 2300 West 46th Street, for the Festival of Tables event on March 31st, 2016.
Good evening, Jamie Palmer with licensing. Item 17 is a new license request for a new gas station for Hy-Vee located on East 10th Street, just east of the Hy-Vee store there on East 10th Street. Item 18 is a packaged liquor license. They currently have a packaged beer license at that location and want to change it to a packaged liquor. Item 19 and 20 are both special one days for special events.
Jamie, thank you. Council?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Karski.
It's been a motion to approve these items, seconded by Councilor Karski. Roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Kiley,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
That is passed 5-0. Item 21.
Item 21 is to set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 1st, 2016 at 7 o'clock p.m. for first reading. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by revising boundaries for voting precincts as set forth in Section 38.003, Election Precincts.
Okay, good evening. My name is Tom Greco, City Clerk. I'm just providing you a short overview of this first reading. Basically, what we're doing is amending some of the districts in the Southwest. This is to make it congruent with actions recently accomplished by Lincoln County with respect to these districts. Specifically, we're changing districts 111 and 112 and adding districts 115 and 118. District 115 and 118, respectively, are at the lower right-hand portion of the shaded area on the map.
Tom, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Council, any questions or comments of Tom?
Move to approve. Second reading.
Councilor Karski's been a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Kiley. If there's no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Kiley,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Thank you. This is passed 5-0. Item 22.
Item 22 is to set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 1st, 2016 at 7 o'clock p.m. for first reading. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, setting the regular city election date for Tuesday, April 12th, 2016, and authorizing a joint election with the Sioux Falls School District number 49-5.
Tom?
Okay, and again, Tom Greco, this is a fairly straightforward resolution, but obviously an important one, setting the date for April 12, 2016 for the municipal election, and also noting that this would be a joint election with the Sioux Falls School District.
Thanks, Tom. Would anybody want to set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 1st for this item?
So moved.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Karski's been a motion to do just that, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
That is passed 5-0. Thank you. Item 23.
Thank you.
Item 23 is set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 1st, 2016 at 7 o'clock p.m. for first reading. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 30, City Council.
Hi, Lori.
Hi, Lori Hogstad, City Clerk. The agenda is, the ordinance, as Tamara read, is an ordinance that was originally amended in 2011 that established specific internal agenda deadlines. Additional amendments were made to this ordinance in 2012 when we changed our meeting day from Mondays to Tuesdays, and that change was made in 12. This proposed ordinance removes the specific deadlines. However, these internal deadlines are already contained either within the city clerk's or the city council procedures manual and or will be added to executive order, which is the executive order for agenda approval form, and will be made a part of that. Of course, public notice will continue, and by state law, we are required to give 24-hour notice, and as you have seen in the overstrike version, we currently give a 4-day notice. The city does ask for some flexibility in our internal deadlines, which is the reason for this proposal. One example is our bid openings are done on Thursdays. Per the ordinance, our deadline for putting contract items on the agenda is Thursday at noon. There are situations where the department that has bid openings will ask if they can please extend that deadline because they would like to get their item on the agenda to do the city's business. It happens sometimes that we maybe don't have a meeting, for instance, for 2 weeks, and we actually had one that I worked with them on Friday, and we extended that deadline so that they could get their item on this particular meeting, and it's actually on there tonight. So that is an example of one of the reasons for the changes for the internal times. We will still continue to have ample notice of our agenda items, and we are not proposing in any way, shape, or form to change the day that we release the agendas. We will continue to release the agendas on Fridays. This simply allows us more flexibility with our internal deadlines. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Otherwise, second reading is slated for February 1st.
Lori, thank you.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Erpenbach.
Mr. Mayor, I apologize. I was detained at work this afternoon and so didn't make it for your initial informational. And so
sure.
I know that you've talked about this extensively. I just want to clarify some things for myself because I was part of the team that wrote this amendment in 2011, and that Friday thing is really important to me. I know that you and I have talked previously about state law is 24 hours, and that's, that's set in stone, and it works for every other community in South Dakota. 24 hours does. Talk about how, and I know you just said it, but it helped me feel better about this Friday thing because it is a big deal to me. And Councilor Rolfing and I were having kind of a side conversation. I said, when do you do your homework? I need that whole agenda to do my homework over the weekend. How do we do that if we pass this in the form that it's in?
Well, we could certainly add that back in. I mean, it's more of a hardship for us as well to release everything on Monday. I would have no intention of releasing it on Monday. Friday works for us. We have a lot of preliminary work that we need to have done prior to the Tuesday meeting. We actually love the Tuesday meetings and still have that Friday deadline, so we could certainly write that back in. I'd be absolutely fine with that. It's more of our internal, to say specifically at 12 noon on Thursday, that's the last time you can accept contracts. That's a real hindrance for us.
And if I might, Mr. Mayor, I don't disagree with that. I think the more flexibility we provide for staff, the better, because it does, we've seen efficiencies have worked so well with the Tuesday meeting. It just has changed the way things work for all of us, I think.
Right.
But I also have heard you say repeatedly that Thursday noon thing does not work.
Nope,
and so I guess, if we can just be very clear that it is about those internal deadlines. And, I don't want it, I don't know how to say this. I don't want it to be a burden for city council staff, but sometimes we have to bend. And so if, we publish an agenda on Friday.
Right.
And then Monday noon, something comes through. tough.
able
You're
to-
going to have to put it on there,
Yes,
right?
we're
Even
able
though
to
it's been
add it.
published once, right?
Mhm. Yes, we're able to add it because it still be within the 24 hours, which is one of the reasons we move the meetings from Monday to Tuesday, is to have, if something happened over the weekend, we would have that opportunity to still add it on Monday, repost the agenda, and still meet that 24-hour deadline.
Well, and I think you also heard all of the testimony that I just heard that was so incredibly insulting and hurtful. And I want you to be clear with me, because this is so important to me. Again, I helped with the writing of this ordinance the way that it is. This Friday thing is really important, and I think it's really important to you, and you're saying that about your staff as well. It makes
Definitely.
things easier for all of us.
It does, yes.
And it's not going away if we pass
No.
this in the form that it's in, or we can tweak it and add that
Right.
back, that piece back in.
Right, I absolutely would not want to change the deadline to Monday. No, Friday works good for everyone involved.
I'm so glad to hear that,
Yep.
the true information coming out in the follow-up to that. Thank you, I appreciate the time.
Yes, Councilor Conley.
One other thing, Lori, that you can help me confirm, this is not a proposal coming from the administration, but basically it's coming from this city council, from our city staff. Is that?
That's correct. Yep, it did not come from administration.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Kiley, I thank you for that as well.
Nope, I think this was the first time, well, we briefly talked about it on Friday a little bit, but this is the first time that it's been presented in front of the mayor and the other directors. So, yep, it definitely did not come from administration.
Thanks for clarifying that,
Yes.
Lori. Appreciate
Mayor,
it.
I would move to set the date of hearing.
Thank you.
Second that.
It's been a motion to set the date of hearing, second reading for this item. It has been seconded by Councilor, it was proposed by Councilor Buck. Thank you, Councilor. Seconded by Councilor Kiley. If there's no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Kiley,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers.
No.
That has passed 4-1. Item 24.
Item 24 is set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 1st, 2016 at 7 p.m. for first reading. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, approving the naming of the outdoor amphitheater to be located at Falls Park West to Levitt Shell Sioux Falls, and authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement between the City of Sioux Falls, Friends of Levitt Shell Sioux Falls Incorporated, and Mortimer and Mimi Levitt Foundation regarding the Levitt Shell at Falls Park West.
And Don, before you start, if I could I don't know if the media knows or cares, and I don't know if the media or the public knows or cares, but I did clarify with Lori, Council, that in order to move a first reading to a second reading, you only need a majority of the councilors that are present at the meeting. There have been other votes. So in this case, we need 3 of the 5 to vote yes, and then it can go to a second reading. There's a lot of other votes that we've done over the years that I've been the mayor where we needed at least 5 votes. And so just wanted to clarify that for everybody. I didn't know the answer. I went to Karen, and Karen gave me the answer. So, councilors, thank you. Don, sorry to interrupt.
No problem.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Don Kearney with Parks and Rec. We're certainly pleased to be able to present this agreement as a follow-up to the informational on the 5th of January that we presented to you. Tonight, we plan to give you an overview of the proposed agreement, talk about the general requirements that are included in the agreement, and what each of the 3 parties' obligations are as it relates to this agreement. As we also discussed, naming rights is included in this agreement and is addressed in the ordinance proposed before you tonight. And then also, one of the things we heard during the informational is that some questions about stakeholder involvement and coordination with them, and so we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll review the timeline again, and then obviously take your questions. I would also point out that Tom Dempster, the chair of the Friends of Levitt Shell Sioux Falls, is in the audience as well, if you should have questions for him. This is a 3-party agreement with the City of Sioux Falls, Friends of Levitt Shell, and the National Levitt Foundation. There is a capital project that's contemplated as part of this agreement where we would develop a performance venue within Falls Park West and support facilities associated with meeting the minimum requirements of the Levitt Foundation. It is a 50-year term, and with naming rights considered over that same term. And then the naming rights of the shell as proposed would be Levitt Shell Sioux Falls. So as it relates specifically to the obligations of the local Friends of Levitt, as it relates to the capital project, is that the local Friends would provide 50% of all project costs up to their minimum funding obligation of $1.6 million. I would also note that $500,000 of that of that $1.6 million would come from the national organization. They would also be responsible for providing, owning, maintaining, and insuring all the sound and lighting equipment, which is estimated to be approximately $500,000 in addition to the $1.6 million. Additionally, the Friends of Levitt are responsible for funding and facilitating the annual performance series, which would include 50 free professional events, a broad array of music genres. Those events need to occur between May 1st and October 31st, that they be family friendly and age appropriate, that they are of professional status, and that they would also provide and maintain all the sound and lighting equipment, including the technical expertise associated with operating both the sound and lighting equipment. Furthermore, they are responsible for coordinating schedules with the city staff for maximum usage of the facility. They're responsible for Wi-Fi, telephone, email service. They're required through the national organization to provide a minimum of 3 full-time staff. They're required to develop and implement safety policies, and they're also responsible for engaging all the security and public safety personnel needed for the Levitt events. So as it relates to the City of Sioux Falls on the capital project, we are proposing to provide funding for the capital project up to $2.5 million. As you might remember, we do have $200,000 that's identified in the 2016 capital plan. And then we also have $2.3 million identified in 2018, obviously subject to your approval when you approve the 2018 budget. Operationally, we will own and maintain the facility, excluding the sound and light equipment. We'll maintain the grounds, the public restrooms, we'll provide janitorial services, we'll provide utilities, and then we'll also coordinate with Friends of Levitt on scheduling of the events at the facility, in addition to not only the 50 free events, but also other events that may want to be scheduled there outside of those that are reserved by Levitt. So on to the Levitt Foundation's obligation. They have an $8.25 million commitment over the life of the 50-year agreement. In the first 5 years, they will be providing $1.25 million in capital and operational support. $500,000 is what they would provide towards the shell that they would then pass to the local organization that would then provide to the city. And then they would also provide $750,000 in operational support. And then they also, during that 5 years, would also provide capacity building grants in the amount of $250,000. That's for things that they may need assistance with, technology, additional manpower, whatever it might be. So the national organization helps in that regard too. And then years 6 through 50, we show $4.5 million in operation and program support, and then additional capacity building grants of $2,250,000. The other thing that they do is provide capacity building support and technical assistance. You know, there are several entities that are already existing that have Levitt performance venues in them across the country, and so we're learning from best practices that they have learned over the years with those other communities. And then also they streamline the support and cost-saving resources to the network of Levitt venues across the country. As it specifically relates to naming rights, again, it is a 50-year name that we are proposing. It's proposed to be Levitt Shell Sioux Falls as the official name. Earlier this afternoon, the Parks and Recreation Board unanimously recommended approval to the City Council that be the name. The Levitt Foundation, again, will invest $8.25 million. And then very much like they've talked with the mission of Levitt is to really build community through music, to strengthen neighborhood identity, to welcome everybody in a location that everybody feels comfortable, that provide alignment with their successful national track record, and then because of their long-term investment, it's sustainable. As it relates to stakeholder coordination, we wanted to provide you a list of downtown event organizers and adjacent property owners that we've met early on when we were considering whether or not to bring the Levitt concert series to Sioux Falls. And we've talked about some of these property owners and event organizers, but just know that we receive very favorable feedback from all these organizations. As far as the timeline goes, as a reminder, we were before you at the informational on the 5th, the Park Board this afternoon on the 19th, here tonight for first reading. We were also wanted you to be aware that Levitt Friends of Sioux Falls fundraising efforts are currently underway, including the Chamber of Appeals in 2016 and 2017. The design of the capital project would start in 16 and potentially carry over into 17. We will start construction in the spring of 2018 on the project, and our goal is to have the first performance in the summer of 2019. So we are available for your questions.
Don, thank you very much. Appreciate the update. Council, any comments, questions? Councilor Staggers.
Yes, Don, how many concerts are going to be held during the summer? Is it 50 or something?
It is 50. The minimum requirement is 50 concerts through the national organization.
I guess I'm a little concerned about if that's very realistic for Sioux Falls. I mean, 50 is a lot of concerts, and having people come to, 50 concerts, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a very similar conversation we've had over the years as we've considered it. Is that possible? Can you actually put those on a calendar, not conflict with all the other events that are already happening in Sioux Falls? And one of the keys, I think, that we learned as we talk more and more about it and talk to the National Levitt Organization is they want people to know that on these particular nights, Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, there's a consistent regiment of scheduled performances. And the other thing to realize, too, is that the genres are going to be varied. And so the idea is to really create a consistent performance schedule, and then looking at all the other event organizers, especially the list that we already provided there, the idea is to collaborate and not duplicate what each special event organizer is trying to accomplish with their particular event, whether it be Hot Harley Nights, Irish Fest, German Fest. We've received very favorable feedback from them to allow the local Levitt organization to collaborate with those special event organizers to make up some of those 50 free performances. So I think we feel really good about being able to offer that many performances. And again, it's one of those things that the national organization requires of any Levitt venue.
And also, if I could ask another question, and that is, Levitt Foundation is going to provide, what was it, $8.25 million?
Correct.
How much are we going to be contributing?
We are going to be contributing $2.5 million in the capital plan in the years of 2016 and proposed in 2018. And then, as we talked at the informational, we anticipate that the annual operating cost is about $75,000 for us to maintain the grounds, to clean the facilities, those types of things.
Okay, so 75,000 times 50, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Counselor, to be fair, I mean, it's going to be higher than $75,000 times 50 because you're going to have inflationary costs on that $75,000. So it's going to be a higher number than that, Counselor. Counselor Kiley.
Don, I've had the chance to ask you this question before, but I think I should do it publicly as well. Obviously, there's obligations on the Levitt Foundation side, the Friends of Levitt Sioux Falls, as well as certainly the City of Sioux Falls obligations. And the Friends of Levitt Sioux Falls, they have pretty sizable obligations, mainly the funding the 50 free concerts on a yearly basis. Can you explain what might happen or what would happen if they're unable to meet those obligations, and also explain how it's structured with, for instance, the Levitt Foundation contributing greatly up front, or at least in the beginning, and then weaning themselves from that to help assist with that process?
Yeah, to your second question first, is that the dollars coming from Levitt is very much front-loaded to get the local organization off the ground. And so more dollars are in that first year, and then it's a kind of a declining balance over that first 5 years where it tapers off into that $100,000 to $200,000 range on an annual basis that they provide, assuming at that point the local level organization is really up and running and should be clicking on all cylinders. As it relates to what happens if the local organization isn't able to achieve the 50 free performances, something else comes up that doesn't allow the original vision to materialize. And so we've asked that question of the national organization, and essentially what happens is that we have no further obligation to put on 50 free performances if the local level organization isn't able to do so, whether that be in a combination of support from the national organization or the local organization. They're just not able to do it. At the end of the day, we end up owning the property, and we have a shell that's been constructed with the assistance of the local and national organization. And at that point, the agreement is basically terminated.
Thank you.
You bet.
Councilor, thank you. Yes, Councilor Bach.
Just one more, because Councilor Kiley asked the question I wanted to ask, but clarify for me. Say they fall through and they're awesome people. I doubt it's not going to happen, but it falls through. We've got this thing built with other people's money. We don't have to pay it back. We just have it then.
That's correct.
Wow, that's a big deal. Okay, thank you.
Council, would anybody want to set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 1st for this item?
So moved.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Kiley's made that motion, seconded by Councilor, Councilor Kiley made that motion, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Thank you. If there's no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Kiley,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers.
No.
That is passed 4-1. Thank you. Item 25.
Item 25 is to set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 1st, 2016 at 7 o'clock p.m. First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota rezoning property north of West 41st Street and west of South Ellis Road from the AG Agricultural and RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban Districts to the CN Conservation RS Single Family Residential Suburban and RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban Districts, petition number 2358, 2015, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Good evening. Jeffrey Schmidt, representing planning staff in these items this evening. With this rezoning, it's on the west side of town. It's 82 acres of property currently west of T. Ellis Road. It's vacant land agriculturally being used. And on the left side of this property, you can see it's currently ag and some RD1. On the right-hand side, you can see the proposed zoning. They've sculpted it a little bit more in their proposal. So there's a conservation area because there's some wet area. There's RS, residential single family, and then down further to the south, which is on 41st Street, just on the north side of 41st Street, is where they're going to propose to put their twin homes. That's first read.
Jeffrey, thank you. Council?
Move to set the date of hearing.
And second.
Thank you, Councilor Buck. Thank you, Councilor Karski. Appreciate that. If there's no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Kiley,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
Thank you, Council. That is passed 5-0. Item 26.
Item 26 is to set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 1st, 2016 at 7 o'clock p.m. First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota rezoning property at the northeast corner of South Hosta Avenue and East 57th Street from the LW Live Work District to the O Office District, petition number 3867, 2015, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
You can see in the exhibit that the majority of this property is blue. It's all live work. Live work is the ability to either have apartment complexes there or office on this property. Therefore, it's live work. The property owner on the northeast corner would like to rezone just a portion of this, 4.5 acres, out of the live work just to office, strictly office. He has a proposal that he'd like to build 2 office buildings on this property and just have an office building.
Thank you, Jeff. Council? Yes. Councilor Rolfing?
The other part would remain, it says LW Live Work.
That's
the
correct.
part north of it,
Yep, and
so
you
there'd
can
be a
see
buffer?
And you can see in the exhibits that there's a lot of offices and apartments already being built out there, and then there would still be the remaining live work to the north, and you'd still have the buffers. Correct.
Counselor, with that in mind, would you want to set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 1?
I would enjoy doing so.
Thank you, Counselor.
Second, Erpenbach.
Thank you, Counselor. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
That has passed 5-0. Item 27.
Item 27 is to set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 1st, 2016 at 7 o'clock p.m. First reading. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located west of North Marion Road, east of West Yukon Trail, and north of West Benson Road from the Popped Pedestrian-Oriented Planned Unit Development District to the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District, petition number 3898-2015, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is up in the northwest part of town, west of Marion Road and north of Benson. You can see that the majority of it is a pedestrian-oriented plan unit development. That means that it's a mix of uses. There's retail here, office, apartments. The entire development on this corner has that pedestrian-oriented element. Right now, they have the ability to do, again, twin homes and apartments on there. They've been selling a lot of twin homes along Yukon Trail and Astoria. So you can see that they have already 4 units. And so they'd like to continue along there and continue to develop some more twin homes on the south side of Yukon Trail. So as this POPUD is being developed, they're going to rezone it to RD just along Yukon Trail and continue to build some twin homes.
Thank you, Jeff. Counselors?
Set the date of hearing or second reading for Monday, February 1st at 7 p.m.
Second, Karski.
Counselor Rolfing, thank you so much. Counselor Karski, thank you as well. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
That has passed 5-0. Item 28.
Item 28 is a first reading. Set a date of hearing and second reading for Monday, February 1st, 2016 at 7 o'clock p.m. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property located west of South Sycamore Avenue and between East 61st Street and East 65th Street from the RS Single Family Residential Suburban and RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban Districts to the RD2 Townhome Residential Suburban LW Live Work and CN Conservation Districts, petition number 3938-2015, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Jeffrey?
Back to the southeast part of town, this property is already annexed, it's already zoned. You can see it in the exhibit in front of you. They are planning on, just to the west, to do some twin homes and to some single-family development. As they started to continue to do the engineering analysis, this drainage way that goes through there became kind of a predicament for them. You can also see on this aerial that when you go back, there's 2 ag parcels that remain on this parcel. On this property. This is the Barber's land. They currently farm the land and develop the land. They are the applicants. They want to remain out here. So they're proposing to move forward with this development. They would like to have RD on the west in the orange. They're going to keep this CN as their conservation drainage area. And then to the east along Sycamore, they're going to develop it as live work and continue to live on this property. But again, as we've already talked about, the live work is a great opportunity for people because you can either do offices or apartments along a busy street like Sycamore Avenue.
Thanks, Jeff. Counselor Bach, question?
Question about,
Please.
Can you put it back up there?
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Show, I've lost it on my screen, sorry. They're going to stay in those 2 spots that are currently ag. Are they not going to change the way that their homes and their outbuildings are now? They'll stay the way they are?
Yes, that's their proposal right now, is they want to remain there on their property. That gives them all the rights that they currently have. They can continue to have apartments next to them. They can build offices on their property. They can build around their properties. But, you know, again, second reading when the applicant's here, you could ask more of those questions. But to the north where the farm area is, may be removed, but he would like to keep his home there and have the ability to have offices or apartments right there.
And they're inside city limits, right?
That's correct.
That's just really interesting, really creative use of it. I just applaud them.
And again, you can see on the left where they just were going, all we're going to do is single family and twin homes. And then they came in and met with us and they go, we would like to use the conservation area as the buffer between, and then with offices and apartments having walking trails, and then the twin homes coming over to the trails and then going to the offices. It's really starting to become a nice development. And he goes, but I don't want to leave because I want to use the trail system too.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'd move to set the data hearing for February 1st.
Karski.
Councilor Box made a motion to set the data hearing for Monday, February 1, seconded by Councilor Karski. Thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing? Staggers?
Yes.
That is passed 5-0. Thanks, Council. Item 29.
Item 29 is first reading, set a data hearing and second reading for Monday, February 1st, 2016 at 7 p.m. First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the 2013 Shaped Places zoning ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
I'm going to ask that you defer this item for 2 weeks to the February 1st. It's the first reading. We're going to defer the first reading to February 1st. In reviewing today, I saw a numerical issue, just a numbering issue. It's not going to change the text or anything, but I got to correct that numerical item. So,
Mr. Mayor, I would move to defer item 29, first reading, to Monday, February 1st.
Second, Rolfing.
There's been a motion to defer this item, and it has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
That is passed 5-0. Item 30.
Item 30 is a first reading, set a data hearing and second reading for Monday, February 1st, 2016 at 7 o'clock p.m. 4. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, establishing the car rental customer use charge and authorizing the use of the proceeds thereof for economic development projects.
Councilor Rolfing.
Okay, I would like to introduce Dale Froelich to make a presentation on the proposed car rental fee.
Is it okay?
It's okay.
I guess so. Welcome, Ms. Froelich.
Well, thank you. Is this unusual?
Yes, it is.
What? Yes, I would ask that Mr. Froelich give us a short presentation of what he gave this afternoon at the informational, so that the people who were not here at that time could hear it.
Welcome, Ms. Froelich.
Well, thank you. My name is Dale Froelich. I am a volunteer with the Sioux Falls Development Foundation, and I am currently serving as the chair of the board of directors. I'm a longtime resident of Sioux Falls. I was born in McKinnon Hospital 68 years ago. And I'm very happy to be here to propose this idea for economic development for Sioux Falls. I will just hit the highlights. I know everyone in this room is in favor of economic development. At least that's what I've been told. Quite a few of the people are. So we don't need to really hit that issue, but I would like to talk about the ordinance itself and kind of hit the highlights of the ordinance. The ordinance was just recently drafted by the city attorney's office. We had earlier submitted our own version of it, and now the city attorney has prepared this for your consideration. Essentially, it's about a 5-page ordinance. It defines the car rental companies, the city itself, and describes the purpose of the ordinance as funding economic development projects. It does not mention the Development Foundation, and it does not describe Foundation Park. So right now it's very open-ended, and I would agree with a comment offered earlier by Michael Weiland, in which he said that if there comes to be a funding agreement pursuant to this ordinance, we want to make that funding agreement as precise as possible, and I would invite his participation as well, but frankly, it's an agreement between the city and whoever they choose to make the agreement with. This is a ordinance that would impose a $3 per day charge on car rentals which occur within the city limits. So it would include both airport and non-airport car rentals. And the process set forth in the ordinance is that it would start on July 1st if it's approved, and the car rental companies would make a collection monthly, and at the end of each month, turn the funds over to the city finance department. The city finance department would allocate those funds pursuant to a plan that the city might have with an economic development organization. And the idea is that those funds then would follow that plan and would possibly be distributed on a quarterly basis. This particular fee can be repealed at any day in the future. It is being brought forth pursuant to city charter. I happen to be involved as a member of the Citizens for Modern Government back in September of 1994 when the city charter was first written. And we specifically included a provision in the city charter that says when you propose a fee or a tax such as this, it needs to be voted on by the people of the city. So there is a provision in the very final section of this ordinance that talks about the fact that this would be referred to a vote of the people, and we are intending or hoping that this can be qualified for the April 12th election, city school election that is coming up on April 12th. And that's the essence of the ordinance. I do want to just make a comment or two in response to comments received earlier. Our organization does believe in open government, and we do agree that people proposing this ordinance...
I'm going to stop you right there.
Okay, is that not
I'm going to
allowed?
stop you right there.
Okay.
Counselor and counselors, this is very unusual. It is, David. It's very unusual. In my 6 years that I've done this, we've not allowed the public to present the testimony of the first reading. And I mean, now I've got a gentleman who wants to talk about questions that were brought up on an opposing side on this topic, and without allowing those proponents to come up, or those opponents, whether they be proponent or opponent, to come up and, speak now on the counter side of this citizen's comments.
Mr. Mayor, I would think you would have thought about that before we allowed the open discussion of meeting agenda items, later agenda items, and you invited people to talk about these items in the open discussion, which rarely happens also.
No, Counselor, that happens every week.
Not on agenda items that are on the agenda item.
Counselor, I've been doing this a long time, sir. That happens every week.
That you allow them to talk on items that are going to be discussed later?
Absolutely. If it's a first reading, they talk about it during the public input, sir. You've been here longer than I have.
No, same amount.
It's been a good journey. And,
well, if you would like Mr. Froelich to stop, that would be fine.
I'm happy to follow your rules.
Out it this far,
whatever you would like
against my better judgment. But again,
I would make a motion, Mr. Mayor, to set second reading for Monday, February 1st, 7 p.m.
Second, Karski.
It has been seconded. Any discussion, Council? A roll call vote, please.
Council members Erpenbach.
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Kiley.
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Staggers.
No.
That's passed 4-1. Item 31.
Item 31 is a resolution including certain contiguous territory within the corporate limits of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Annexation 3635, 2015, Lou Bacher, 69th Street and Sycamore Avenue.
This is a rezoning or an annexation question proposal on the southeast part of town. Earlier on the agenda, interestingly enough, just to the north, you can see the Barber's Edition. So we rezoned the land in first reading To the north, this is the Lubeckers' land to the south at 6th, 9th, and Sycamore. It's 35 acres. You can see on this exhibit, the 35 acres is in blue. It's in our growth tiers. For first tier, we have water, sewer, and sanitary sewer eligible. This is a resolution.
Thanks, Jeff. Is there anybody in the audience who want to speak to this item? Council?
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Kylie.
It's been a motion to approve this resolution. It has been seconded. Councilor Stager, sir.
Yeah, Jeff, once again, we're annexing here, right?
We are annexing it upon the request of the property owner.
Okay, this is what I wanted to know.
Yep, the
Thank you very
property
much.
owner wants to request it. They want to develop it for mixes of uses, but they probably have commercial on the corner, apartments, and then adjust it to single families. They go north.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Yep.
A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing? Staggers?
Yes.
That has passed 5-0. Item 32.
Item 32 is a resolution including certain contiguous territory within the corporate limits of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, annexation 3755, 2015, Ackerson, 85th Street and Minnesota Avenue.
South central part of town, just on Minnesota Avenue. This is a small piece, relatively speaking, 2 acres. You can see it's directly on the very south part of town. It's in our 3rd tier for development. Here it is in their plat. They do not need sewer or water. The applicant's requesting to zone it or annex it into the property. What they need it for is to line up their access point to get into their development to service the land that they are developing it to the north. So they're annexing it in so they can bring their access point in here. This is the access that lines up east and west across Minnesota Avenue.
Thank you, Jeff. Is there anybody in the audience who wanted to speak to this item? A roll call vote, please. Or no, sorry.
Motion.
Need a motion, please?
Move to approve. Erpenbach.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Bucks made a motion to approve this resolution. Thank you, Councilor. Seconded by Councilor Karski. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Erpenbach?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Rolfing? Staggers?
Yes.
That has passed 5-0. Council, any new business? Councilor.
Tonight, Mr. Mayor and fellow council members, we've been accused of conspiracy, not being patriotic, not following state law, promoting police violence. My son's death. My son's death has been used to make me feel like I'm unimportant, I'm wrong, and I'm unpatriotic. That I don't do my homework, that people won't run for office because we're corrupt and don't care about the people of Sioux Falls, and more. I'm sorry, but I feel that what I do here is important, not only to me, but to everyone in the whole city. We are not criminals up here. We're trying to do what is right and good for Sioux Falls. Help us do what is right. Just don't chew us out. But please understand the issues that you're dealing with before just spouting off. Be part of the solution and not part of the problem. Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
There's been a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
It has been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Sioux Falls, make it a great, great night.